Hey guys, it's Al from Altruistic Show. And actually today I'm going to be addressing another little vignette, if you will, a little pearl of wisdom I learned. And I don't mean the kind that your boyfriend gives you around your neck when you're surprised. Remember, a lady never spits. Anyway, my gosh. So it's kind of in that vein. And what I'm speaking to is during ascension paths, most people encounter things that are considered by most to be disastrous or the world is falling or I'm putting out fires. Can't you see I'm putting out fires? You know those assholes. And so I wanted to speak a little bit to that because my journey's been kind of a little bit of one that's very much all about kind of looking at the beauty within the chaos, right? So um, it, if you look at my story, it's always been people look at it like when I was a lower frequency, there was always a fire. There was always something going on. There was always something that was like either traumatic or there was something that was not the most positive. And yet I kept being positive. I kept being uplifting and joking. But in truth, you could always see like a sorrow. There was always a thin layer of like a harmony that was always sad. And so on this side of things, people are really starting to notice that I don't have that anymore. And what they're starting to see, or at least what I'm feeling, I've heard it a couple times, but I should be honest. It's mainly what I feel is the vibrational shift that occurred within me. And it was very easy. It was just one day I realized that it was one of those things when you look at an issue and you see only the issue, you can never see the truth of something. Or you can never learn a lesson if you're looking at just if you're looking for the problem, then you can only see it as a lesson instead of a blessing. And so I was having all this trouble navigating the ascension path. And so this going to be specifically about stuff like that. So, for example, being called to judgment. It's a big thing with people, especially those of us who are very spiritual, ascending, Catholic, or any type of religious person. It's always a negative connotation, though. It's always like God is going to be wrath. He's going to be like all mad. And it's always very patriarchal. And one of my big things about God is that God is a balance, right? God created everything in yin and yang with a duality to it. And so we're supposed to rise above the duality into singularity and then to join as a group and then the whole nine. Depends on where you are on the enlightened path of awakening and ascension. But essentially, we can all agree that God is not the most destructive force on the planet. I mean, yeah, he has that capability, but it's called life. Life itself has to keep itself growing. It cannot be mundane, otherwise you would have utopia. And utopia, as I've said before, can't exist because utopia implies that nothing ever happens, everything is sublime, everything is blissful. So the only thing that would ever register to your brain would then be chaos, destruction, or death. So whenever you say you want utopia, I don't think that's what you mean because you haven't really thought it out. Because everything would be so mundane. And the reason is because I'm going to give you a couple examples. In life, if you are blessed, have you ever said the words, I'm bored? No? You've never been bored in your life? That's what utopia would be. Boredom all the fucking time, all the time. Because the only thing that would ever vary that would be if you encountered something that was traumatic, death, or somehow destructive. And so you don't really want utopia. What you want is a balance. And so God's all about balance, right? So in that, when you're ascending, you're always looking for the lesson, which means that there always has to be a problem in order to get the blessing, right? The transition, 3 stages, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. So as you make your transition, can I just save you a little bit of time here? So instead of always looking for the world to teach you in ways that somehow make him negative, how about he's a maternal father figure, meaning that he's a balance of love and light. And so in that way, sometimes lessons can be blessings directly to the point. It doesn't always have to be bad. You don't have to go to college to become a multimillionaire. You don't have to be a mentee, if you will, a mint. You don't have to be like mentored by someone else in order to achieve greatness. You can be innovative and creative on your own when we're a reflection of God. So understand that there's that dynamic there. So what I wanted to speak to is like instead of always looking for there to be, sorry, my third eye started really itching. Um, Instead of always something having to be learned by a negative, why don't we just start looking at blessings for being lessons that are earned in the same way? They're the same thing. It's just you're looking at it from a different perspective. So a perfect example is ascension. So people who are awakening right now, they all are a little bit confused because they didn't necessarily choose the path, but the whole planet is ascending, right? We're going into a phase of evolution. Wow, my third eye is really going. So because of the third eye, I'm thinking with my third leg. Ah. So because we're always looking at it from that standpoint, the I forgot what the hell I was talking about. The third leg, man. When you get blood going from that leg down to there, it fucks everything up. But anyway, so the third eye started to wink. So when we're looking at life, I'm gonna try to get back on track here. I'm gonna leave this just as it is because I find it hysterical. But it's a thing about being honest. Here's the thing with editing. If you're editing stuff, then how can you be honest? If you're constantly editing your videos, then you can't truly be honest because that means that you're omitting mistakes. Then you're not living in truth. So I just let the fly, let the freak fly, fly, or the fags, what is it? The flames of faggotry. Let it go. So anyway, so the moral story is so instead of looking at lessons for just lessons where everything is always a negative, you're always having to pay a price in order to be blessed because you have to learn. Sometimes you can just learn by observation. That's why we have books. That's why our voices are so important. Is if we're heard, then someone else can actually read or learn by looking at your video. And now they don't have to do that. That's what a book is. It's the conscious mind saying to you, document your life as best as you can. You're not being pompous or arrogant. You're leaving the breadcrumbs for others to pick up. That's all you're doing. So instead of like, always making it like you make somebody learn the hard way, you don't always have to. Sometimes just leave like a docu series or do something on YouTube or write a book or write a poem or something that truly shares who you are because who's to say that we're all going to make this transition into ascension alive? Many of us won't. Many of us will choose to either lay down in the snow and just die because we're exhausted and because we can't rise above the illusions around us and we can't see that they're illusions. So many of us may not make it. Many of us may end up, in our own personal hells or whatever we believe that's going to be the penalty for not being able to keep going. But there's a lot of us who will get to go through. So if you want you to be heard, if you want a guaranteed legacy, speak, write, create, draw, paint, whatever it is. Oops, sorry, getting a message. Um, do whatever it is that's going to leave a staple of you on the planet because it's what's going to carry you through. That's how you get a legacy. Think about Christ. Christ was an amazing man and he did some amazing stuff, but how do we know about him? Because people spoke about him, they wrote about him, they created art about him. That is a legacy. You see what I'm saying? So you don't always have to wait for someone else to make your legacy happen. Why don't you make your own legacy by understanding that in order to be blessed, you don't always have to learn first. You can just glide right into it. Read the book. We don't need to go into the water, into the deep ocean, and worry about a shark all the time because we saw fucking Jaws. That's why people are creative. And so a lot of what's going to happen is going to be based on our perception. And specifically, those of us who are tasked with ascending a little bit earlier and having to pave the way, we're creating canvases for what's to come for the next generations. There's a reason we're forgetting about the past. We're in a transition. So if you believe in that we're in a transition, whether you believe in judgment or ascension, ascension is an initiation. You're rising above the craziness. Judgment is you have to get a pass from the teacher. I'm sorry, I never had that problem. I was one of those people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not pompous. I was an asshole, but I never had to wait for someone to give me a go ahead to try. I've never succeeded per se. Like I'm not a wealthy millionaire, and I'm not. But I am homeless and happy. I am sheltered, even though having all these problems. I still feel like the winner, and it's because I've always just gone for it. At the end of the day, when I went to judgment, this was the entirety of my judgment. How do you think it went? Do you have any regrets? That was it. Everybody else that goes up there is going to be like a laundry list. It's going to be like major questions you're going to have to answer. Because, like, what did you do for humanity? Did you live honestly? Did you have integrity? All this stuff. And the answer is always going to be for many people who didn't dare to dream and who didn't learn the lessons and that then turned around and blamed others for thinking outside the box. All of that's going to be answered. So instead of that, can I just send everybody the message that in order to rise, sometimes you just need to see someone else do it and understand what they're saying to you. You don't have to know. Here's the thing, death does not hurt. Let me save you the time and energy. Death does not hurt. You consciously thinking death hurts makes death hurt. Because then you are going to pull something in that's going to cause physical pain. Pain is unavoidable in the body. But is that true? I'm asking you these weird questions because at the end of the day, I already know the answer. I've already given you the answer for who I am. The couple times that I can tell you that I've died, they did like the last two didn't hurt at all. Wasn't even aware if it wasn't for the fucking jackass who blew the horn over my ear, Gabriel. I make light of it, you know. But it stopped my heart. And then the time before that, I died in the middle of an attack. And so, but it didn't hurt. I kind of did this mental switch where I just like, it's just a doorway. Literally was the only thing I thought. It's just a doorway. And nothing, no pain, no nothing. And I was still aware. There's this conscious thought that we all have that I want to enlighten us all on. That you may not know that you've died. I guarantee you, you will know. I promise you that you will know. The divine is going, you know. People who don't leave and don't move on isn't that they're confused that they're behind all the time. They're confused as to how they died, or they're confused as to why they can't come back because they've done it before. That's what conscious thinking is. It's the conscious ability to understand that when you die, you just are going to sleep as a soul. And when you wake up, it's like a day later in your head. But in reality, it could be hundreds and thousands of years apart. And so understand that if you put things out there that are negative or that have pain involved, then you're going to receive pain. So don't do it. Just learn from my lesson. Understand. Just think it's just a doorway. You won't encounter pain. You'll die peacefully in your sleep. My grandma knew she died, and she died peacefully in a hospital bed surrounded by her family, asleep, passed out. Couldn't. It was like she was drunk too. She was happy as could be the morning, and then the next thing she was gone. That's peace. And then when my mom died, she literally waited for me to tell her. I'm like, Mom, if you're in that much pain or if you're that unhappy, just let go. Right on the spot. To not even wait. You see what I'm saying? So understand that you have options here. Don't limit yourself because others tell you that. Again, limits are set by people who can't think beyond what they can't comprehend. That doesn't mean it's not true. You know, there's things outside of our control. So another example is this. When I graduated, when I was informed that I was graduating something, which I still don't know what it was, but I was under the impression that it would be something joyful, that I would get like $1 million lottery win, or that I would, somehow, leave the body and go on a boat and go like sailing, like as a soul, and like be like, I, Captain, in my good hole, like something fun. But it wasn't that. Literally, my entire life came crashing down around me, and now I'm in this state. But have you seen my story? There is nothing bad happening here. If anything, there's nothing but joy and beauty along my path. And what do I mean by that? My friends, people that I thought were going to be there forever for me, betrayed me. But then people that I knew through work, and the people that I really cared about, but I thought, we were just, they're there for me. Or how about when I ended up in the shelter and I met five, and told there's five people that you're all going to know, that I know for a fact of who their souls are. I saw their soul. And I guess that's what graduation is. It's the ability to allow the other person to present who they are, flaws and all, and being able to assess it, understand it, and see it. Because I saw their souls and I see the people I'm with. I am on a journey that's very specific, and that if you're paying close attention, it's going to be very eye opening to people. I don't get to pick how it goes. I don't even know if I die, if I live, am I the chick at the end of the horror movie that's really popular, really gorgeous, but it's like rubbing ice all over her nipples and then surprised that God, that the killer comes and kills you? Really? Because I'm pretty sure that you're rubbing your nipples because you knew you were going to die and you wanted to, go out with a bang. But you see what I'm saying? And so, like, just the idea of the lottery. Everybody wants to win the lottery. You already have. You're here. Microphone drop. You're alive. There is so much energy all over. We have thing called dark matter everywhere that we don't understand yet, but it's energy. All of that energy cannot be in physical form, but you are lucky enough to be in physical form. So however you want to look at this, whether you're a computer or you're simulated or you're an enema or some sort of dildo, whatever the fuck you think you are, it took energy and it took a lot of it to project you into existence. Somebody created you by hand and painted you in. That's consciousness. That's the idea of making something out of nothing. It's because of the fact that somehow that energy pooled and made a physical thing for you to. Do you know how blessed you are? And to sit there and say, I didn't win the lottery. And then you wonder why you're poor. God's looking at you like, you fucking selfish motherfucker. You didn't win shit, huh? Okay. Poor poverty. Because then you got to fight harder. But the moment you realize that you already have won the lottery, that that's what life is, then all of a sudden things start to work out. And then you're like, oh, I didn't see that tree there before. Oh, wait, there's a building there? Are you sure it was pink? Because I'm pretty sure it was blue like not even 2 minutes ago. You see what I'm saying? Things change. Your perspective, your reality scale, scope, everything changes. Suffering. If you're suffering, then why do you fight so hard to keep going? Because it's a blessing. In order sometimes to understand the value of something, if I hear one more fucking person say that they're bored, I'm gonna smack their dick with your dick. Enough with the I'm bored. Never say I'm bored, because if you say I'm bored to the universe, then guess what happens? The universe goes, this selfish motherfucker, do you know how much we went through to put you on this fucking planet or to make you understand who you are? Fine, you're so bored. That person dies. You bored still? No. Get the lessons. Some of this isn't even lessons. Some of it's like you can't control when someone else's time has come. If someone agrees to something before they get here, let's say spiritually as a soul, and they pass away, but they pass away quietly, and you mourn them and you can't let that go, then do you think that that soul gets to go on? No, they're trapped. They're waiting for you to let go. There's energy still attached to them. They can't. So if you love, that's part of letting go of the past. That's how we move forward right now. It's very important that I point this out for some reason. Well, I mean, I know why, but God specifically wants me to say this very clearly. If you cannot let go of these beings, they can't go forward. And if you're enlightened, then you understand that if you trap them with you in the past, then if they did good by themselves and they get to transition with us, they can't go because you're still holding on to them like a balloon. Let go of the energy, negative, positive, in between all of it, because otherwise you trap that energy where you go. And let's say that you can't do it this time. Let's say that you can't progress this lifetime, that you have to do it again because it was too hard, or you could, whatever the excuses, or it got cut short, and you have them tethered to you, then it's like a balloon. The balloon doesn't let go. The balloon has to come with you. You're like an arc. Think in terms of you or your life being an arc. You are the arc that goes into the age of Aquarius from the age of Pisces. And at the end of Pisces, you have to understand Pisces is about the impossible. So what if you are the arc that carries your ancestors with you positively or negatively? So if, let's say, God gives you a gift of something beautiful, like a brand new slate, but you don't let go of that negativity, then what is your slate gonna? You're carrying it into Eden. You're carrying it into a new creation that He's giving you as a reward. So see life in terms of the reward cycle you're getting. Because if you don't, you're never going to go forward. It's like a rabid dog. You love your dog, but if the dog becomes rabid and it starts spreading rabies all over, you have to put the dog down. Not that we're dogs, but you know what I mean. Because if you let the dog go, then it spreads, and then everything you can't let positivity stand against negativity. So if there's 100 different positive things going on at once, and you let one negative thing in there, and it starts to just passively aggressively it'll start to spread and spread and spread and spread and spread. So understand, if you're striving to be the best in this world, or not to be perfect, but to be the best you can be, and you're trying to ascend above the madness, then you can't bring the madness with you. You have to let go. So for me, this is part of the test. You know, look at me. I'm dressed to the nines. I look fantastic. I have a gorgeous tan. I got to go and watch the parade yesterday. And sure, I don't have a home and I don't know what's going to happen and I could die tomorrow. But I guarantee you I'm not going to hell and I'm not getting stuck here. I get to go on to whatever goes. And the reason I know that is because you don't get to rise and be happy. When I say rise, I mean happy, fulfilled, emotionally abundant. All of the abundance that you can't see is because you're trapped in a mindset, not you, but anybody that you're lacking. If you're stuck in lacking, then you can never gain access to anything new because you're still lacking, right? Like, I don't have any shoes. That doesn't stop me from going to school. I'm going to go to school in my fucking socks. And then somebody at school will probably hand me a pair of shoes, the teacher, typically. So don't let the problem stop you from succeeding in this life, because at the end of the day, you're carrying your ancestors with you. If your ancestors did a good job, but you don't do the job that you need to do because you couldn't, because something blocked you, and you trap them without letting them go, then they never get to go forward. They're stuck in your arc. That arc might sink. We're human beings. I'm not even guaranteed to make it out. As far as I know, I could be dying. And so if I'm dying, I had to let go of the arc. I had to let go of my family and all that stuff in order for them to make their own way. Because that way we don't tie each other into these situations of bad karma or family curses or life cycles. Because you're letting go of that drama, of that karma, of that damage. And so I want everybody to just be very super conscious of the fact that we're entering the universal consciousness, meaning we've been prevented for a very long time because we were still in the incubation period, as someone put it. And now that we're being allowed to grow up and join the universal consciousness, the answer to why we haven't seen other beings, why has we're about to find all of those things. Those who can let go of limits and those that can let go of the negativity and all of the past misdeeds, because enough of us have worked on ourselves enough that we can carry forward the history of humanity on the positivity side of it. And so where other races or other creatures, whatever you want to believe in, and God himself can look at you and go, that's my girl, that's my boy, that's my creation. That is what you want to strive for, don't you? That's it for me on Alan Altruistic Channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I will let you know what happens tomorrow. I mean, my journey here as a homeless man and, being overlooked and not having money and all that stuff seems to be looking pretty good on me, but I'm kind of selfish. What's left of my ego seems pretty happy, but I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can. That's it for me. Bye.